Hey everybody, Quantum back here again, finally returning with some TTS gameplay, and in this video we are using our Sapphire Steel Alice Baymax deck with the Calhoons and all the new set 6 cards that we've put into it. Unfortunately, I accidentally deleted the deck list, so I had to remake it, which is linked in the description. And it is kind of unfortunate because it was the #1 trending deck on Dreamborn when I deleted it by accident. So, thank you for the support. I wish I didn't delete it because I think I would have had like 4 out of the 5 top trending decks because I accidentally deleted my Ruby Sapphire as well. I can explain that in another video. Regardless here, my friend reveals a Mulan, so they're likely on Amber, Ruby, Mufasa here, and so I know the Pete has almost no value because it's not going to prevent any actions from being played since Mufasa doesn't really play actions. I mean, they should be playing brawls at minimum, I would think, but even then it's like maybe they don't even play brawl. And honestly, I think Mufasa could benefit from playing Be Prepared, but that's just me. The Mulan gets checked here by my turn 1 Mickey Mouse, which is really great because Mickey will survive if the Mulan is exerted and I challenge into it. But we know that the reason that they play Mulan is to set up for the Rapunzel. On turn 2, they drop the new Lilo. I think they inked Mother Gothel there, which, I don't know. Would you play Mother Gothel or the Lilo? I guess you don't want to ink the Lilo because then you can't utilize the ability to bring it back, obviously. But the Mother Gothel can get you an extra draw if you have Rapunzel. And these Mufasa players, they always have Rapunzel. I didn't see what we inked there, but I think I opt to just check the quest by dropping Calhoun on 2. And then I quest with Mickey since I'm not fearing anything being thrown into it with the resist +1. I will say that I do play this first game poorly, but if you stay around for the second game, there is some very exciting gameplay coming through on that one there. Okay, so they drop a Sisu, and I got a lot of cards in hand. Sisu, when you're on the play and your opponent's on the draw, extra strong because it has, you have that extra strength for the extra card, or the opponent gets the extra strength on the Sisu because you have the extra card. So I ink, and I don't really have a good 3-drop, so I just play out a 2-drop, which is okay. The Mickey Mouse I can quest with because if they want to trade the Sisu into it, I can then trade my Calhoun into the Sisu. I opt not to do anything though and pass, leaving all my stuff readied up, which you can argue is a mistake. I don't know what I'm really fearing coming down on 4. Yeah, it's got to be a Rapunzel. So they're going to draw 2, which is pretty good here. And they're going to just quest anyways, most likely. So I could have at least forced them to trade out the Mickey and then traded out the Sisu with the Calhoun, gaining 2 lore in the process, stopping them from questing. But are they going to opt to quest here? I mean, now that the Mulan is healed up, it is a little bit of an issue, but the Calhoun, again, just literally checks the whole board, more or less. Well, Calhoun plus the Mickey into the Sisu, but Calhoun will check the rest of the board that will quest. And yeah, the Rapunzel is also great value for Calhoun because you take no damage back and you can deal 3 to it. So throw something into Rapunzel, finish off with Calhoun, gain the lore, take no damage. Really, really good stuff. We draw Cogsworth here, and I'm like, okay, this is where being on the draw kind of hurts me. Again, I don't really have a great turn 4 play. Like hard casting Zeus here is just really not good. You could argue that I should have Zeus the Rapunzel here, but I can always run over the Rapunzel. The thing I was not paying attention to here is a potential Mulan shift because they're coming up on 5 ink. I do have to be careful of Maui, and that's kind of the only thing I was afraid of. But I'm like, yeah, if they Maui the Smee, I guess that's okay. I'll Calhoun trade it out. They still have good questing power on board, but I can start dropping my Chenpo and stuff. Not having an item here for Hiram also kind of hurts, so I don't have any draw engine. And the Baymax, if I got set up a little bit, like if I got this Smee with damage, it's not getting threatened to be taken out. The Baymax comes in here and gains me extra lore while continually healing up the Mr. Smee. So that's some additional synergy that you get here. And then when my opponent inked and I'm like, oh, do you have the Mulan shift? And he's like, yeah. So the Mulan just blows up the whole board because it's at 4 strength or 5 strength, I believe. Regardless, it's going to take out every single threat. And, I have to basically see what my draw is, hope it's an item. Otherwise, there's not really much I can do to come back from this board state. It's a Baboom. It's not going to be enough. The Mulan, I think, is even on 6 willpower. It's a 2-6, I believe, not a 2-5. So I can't even finish off the Mulan because it took 3 from the Smee. Yeah, I inked the Baboom, and I think I just scoop here. I'm just like, yeah, it's not even worth playing this out. I play a Chenpo. No, I think I said, do you have another Rapunzel? If you have another Rapunzel, just show me it, and I scoop. I think that's what I said. and he's gonna draw 3 if he does have it. Yeah, he does. So I'm like, yeah, you're gonna draw 3, heal your Mulan. I'm not gonna be able to come back from that. So let's just go to game number 2. So in this next matchup here, we're gonna be putting back a Tinkerbell and one of the 2 Hurums in order to hopefully draw into better inkables, since we probably want to maybe increase our chances of drawing Tinkerbell later on when it can be more impactful. So we want to just maximize the copies in the deck there. And no need for more than 1 Hurum at this point. Again, I wasn't really sure what my opponent was on. It is revealed later in this match that they're on like the Gaston line, which means that by turn 4, because if they play Gaston on 3, by turn 4 they could technically drop a Medusa, which would absolutely just devastate my Hurum. But again, with this build, if we drop the Alice on 3, quest with it, we can give the Hurum ward, forcing, well, not forcing, but making the Medusa unable to target the Hurum. So that way I can get at least 2 draws off of the Hurum. Hopefully, I mean, I need to see another item, but I'll get a draw off the play and I'll get a draw off the quest on the Hurum. Even though I will likely lose my my Alice, because these Amber Ruby Mufasa decks are quite aggressive. Speaking of which, the opponent starts off with a Mulan and Mother Gothel. They're only on 2 ink though, so again, being on the play here is really helpful. The Yokai again was just a testing option, a 4-cost inkable 2 quester that can recycle a draw spell, or a draw item I should say, right? It lets me bounce back a Popsicle or a Fortisphere and then replay it for free to draw 1 while I retain that item. So if I draw into the Hurum, I can get the Hurum engine online. But after testing, I think I would cut it. So the deck list that you're going to see linked in the description and or pinned in the comments will be different than what you see here. But again, that's what testing is for. We'll make the minor modifications, and I might do an updated deck profile on this. But yeah, we quest with the Smee, which you can argue is maybe a mistake, but I'm like, I just need to be aggressive here. I have the draw engine to keep replenishing my hand, and I have the Alice to protect the Hurum for at least, I'm hoping to draw into items, right? I have draw for turn, draw off Hurum, that's draw 3, and then draw for turn again. So I'll have 4 draws to hopefully get to an item here before the opponent can deal with the Hurum. They do indeed drop the Gaston on 3. And they trade out the Mulan, so they really only need to protect the Mother Gothel. This is risky though, because if I was on like Babooms and stuff, and I took out the Mother Gothel, that would really shut down their Rapunzel line. Nonetheless though, yeah, we do get the Fortisphere off that draw there, which is really, really strong, and we're going to be able to pop the Fortisphere to draw 2 cards here. The quest with the Alice here was simply just to protect the Hurum from a potential Medusa play, or if they were on a brawl play as well. I just needed to generate the card draw, because I know my opponent wants to drop the Rapunzel here. Being on the draw as well, Mufasa, is slightly behind, and it's one of the weaknesses of this deck. Amber Ruby is an extremely strong deck, especially the Mufasa build, but it really strives, or really does well on the play, and it kind of suffers a little bit on the draw here. Until you can kind of get to the end game, where you can start dropping big threats that trade very positively into opponents' boards. But again, it depends on how much advantage each of you are able to generate throughout the game. And I keep talking about it. Amber Ruby is 1 card away from being a tier 1 deck in my opinion. It just needs another draw spell. Rapunzel isn't enough. But that being said, if you do see 1 or 2 Rapunzels, you are in very, very good shape. So as mentioned, we do get the second draw 2 off the Hurum here. Now the Hurum is very susceptible to being taken out, obviously. The opponent, I guess, could, because the Gaston is a 2 strength, and the Rapunzel is 1, and the Mother Gothel is 3. So they can literally throw all their existing characters on board into it and take it out if they wanted to. And I don't have any removal right now, so I have to just pretty much accept that I'm going to lose this Hurum. Plus the opponent being able to draw 3, very likely that they have Medusa, that they have Maui if they wanted to take out the Hurum. On the flip side of that though, they can also decide to go wide on their board. They can drop now a 7-cost character, because they can go to 5 ink, exert Gaston, reduce the character by 2, so they can play something like a Surfer Stitch to draw even more cards here. So you can kind of see the power of the Mufasa deck. I kind of let my opponent get into a situation where they can claw back the tempo, because they are developing the stronger board at this point, and we know that Ruby in particular is very strong into the late game, where they can just start dropping these huge removal threats. But on the flip side of that, Amber, dropping big willpower characters like Surfer Stitch here is a problem for steel, right? We know that. We know things like Ursula Power Hungry from the first chapter made its way back into the meta in set 2, set 3 metagame with like Amethyst Steel, or to go against Amethyst Steel, because steel decks just had such a hard time with high toughness characters. But they do let the Hiram live, and so we're going to be able to quest and draw even more cards. My opponent here is pretty much just not worried about what I'm going to draw, because they know they have the stronger top end. We're both on, oh no, I'm on 6 lore, he's on 4. Okay. I'm going to opt to take out the Gaston. Yeah, okay. And then heal the Smee with the Popsicle. The one deficiency I will say with this deck is, you do run a finite number of items with no real way to recycle them. So you really do run out of Hiram gas quite quickly. And this is another realization of why Yokai isn't good in this deck. Because if I do go through 3, 4, 5 items, that leaves like nothing for Yokai to bounce, right? And so he's not really good. He's only good if like I see him early and I don't have a Hiram. So there is that limitation that I figured out in this match as to why I would not run him. You just need a bigger total item count in order to make him useful. So we both have a lot of cards in our hands, and my opponent decides to start trying to clean up the board, finally challenging into the Hiram with the Surfer Stitch. That puts 4 damage on me. And then drops the Scar, the new one, which I do think is a decent card. It's basically Teeth and Ambitions on a body, but it also quests for 3, which is really strong. But it is only 2 willpower. They're going to put 2 more damage on their Surfer Stitch. So yeah, they took 1 from the Tinkerbell, 1 from the Hiram, 2 for the Scar, and that puts 4 damage on the Surfer Stitch. And then they're going to throw the Mother Gothel into the Smee, so those trade out. They have 1 damage on the Rapunzel from the Tinkerbell coming down the previous turn. This was a very awkward play, though, for my opponent, because they know I have a ready Tinkerbell. And I think they acknowledged after the fact that, this might have been the wrong play. They just wanted to get the Hiram, cleaned up, though. You could argue that they could have just thrown the... I think they did mention this to me. They should have just thrown the Gothel and the Stitch into the Hiram and just leave the Smee for now. But because the Surfer Stitch is so banged up, I'm going to be able to use the Tinkerbell to finish it off, and my Tinkerbell will live. And then I draw into Baymax off of this Popsicle, which is actually a really clutch draw. And then the Tinkerbell, 2 extra damage, is actually going to be able to take out the Scar, so prevent the quest for 3. Now, if the opponent does have a second Rapunzel, they're going to be able to at least draw 2 off this Mulan. But, I dealt with a decent part of the board. So I kind of let the game get away from me just a little bit, but then I clawed it back. We pay 5 for the Baymax to take 2 damage off of the Tinkerbell, leaving us with just 2 damage on her. And then we gain 2 lore in the process, going to 8. My opponent's lore counter disappeared, but they were at 6 as well. I inked the Pete, again, knowing that Mufasa doesn't play basically any actions. And then we just pass turn. So Mickey Mouse, Baymax, and Tinkerbell. Does the opponent have the follow-up Rapunzel? They do have 6 cards in hand now, so that's kind of scary. They're getting up to kind of the critical mass point of their ink, getting up to 7 ink here. They do have 2 characters, so another Surfer Stitch is very viable to come down. I think some Mufasa lists play like 3 or 4 Surfer Stitch, which at this point in the game is now very, very scary. So there's a couple of things that my friend here could have. Aside from the Surfer Stitch, they may also have a Mulan Shift, and my board is very vulnerable to that right now. Thankfully, the Baymax is a 2/6 body, so it does unfortunately get hit by Brawl, which again Mufasa should be playing. And honestly, I think Mufasa should play Be Prepared because the card is just too strong. And in this current meta, I think Be Prepared is just like a game-winning card because there's so much like aggro and tempo-oriented like mid-range aggro decks in the format that a Be Prepared really does do a lot for you. But regardless, Mulan coming down here, and I think I was telling my opponent, I'm like, oh man, did I just play into the Mulan? But I think he said after the fact, like maybe this wasn't the correct play based on his hand. But I don't know. I don't know what other play you could really go for here to clean up the board other than Mulan. Mulan seems like a really good choice to me in this situation because it cleans up the Tinkerbell. Yeah, yes, you lose the Mulan in the process because Mulan already has 2 damage on her, but you clear out the Mickey. Thankfully, though, like I was saying, the Baymax has 6 willpower, so it only will take 5 damage. And unfortunately, when Baymax quests, he can't remove damage from himself. He has to remove damage from another target. Honestly, I thought I had another Baymax in hand, so I'm like, yeah, this is fine. And then when I zoom back out, I'm like, I don't have another Baymax. I have triple Cogsworth, which is not great. It would have been nice to put the Cogsworth on board a turn prior so I could resist 1 damage of this Mulan shift coming down and just doing a board wipe. So you can see how impactful that Mulan is. And again, it totally just didn't even like. I mean, I had to challenge with the Tinkerbell anyways. Like I had to do that. So either way, I was going to be left exposed. But yeah, I mean, I totally slipped my mind that, oh yeah, he has Mulan on board. He's going to go for a shift here. But you know, it was going to happen regardless. I think maybe I just wasn't prepared for it, so I didn't really plan like, okay, what is the ideal next play? So here we draw a yokai, and again, I have Hiram already. So like, what's the point of yokai in this situation? Nothing, right? So it's actually counterproductive. So a failed experiment. Yeah, don't do that. Anyways, we have so many Cogsworth here. We're probably going to ink it. I guess the yokai is still kind of useful as a 2-quester, as a 3/3 body. But I mean, I don't know, man. I think maybe just playing the Cogsworth would have been better. Yeah, I play yokai here. Like, what am I doing? I'm just trying to show off a yokai for no reason. But this Baymax, we do quest with it. Again, kind of suspect. Is it worth saving it to continue to heal and generate lore? I do like Baymax. I did buy 4 copies at around $14, which is probably overpaying for them, but you know, I like the card, so I think it's worth just grabbing them. I didn't even care. I just like, yeah, you know, it's relatively cheap for a legendary. It's better than buying 2 packs is the way I look at it. Anyways, yeah, we just passed the Rapunzel on board. We are, you know, at risk of getting Maui'd here on the Baymax and the Rapunzel continuing to quest. But we're in a game state now where we can feel a little bit comfortable because, again, like I was saying, we don't have to worry about Be Prepared because Mufasa doesn't play Be Prepared, even though I think it probably should. So we're currently in a game state where I can continue to now build my board and go very wide, use these Cogsworth to my advantage, and yeah, just continue to try to control the game state. Maybe the reason I played yokai here is because I was able to play yokai and Hiram. So this makes sense. So now I have the ability to play Tinkerbell and sing Zeus, which actually is impactful here because I'm going to be able to out this Judy before it can do anything. So yeah, we Zeus the Judy and then drop Tinkerbell, getting an extra damage on the Rapunzel and taking out the Judy Hops in the meantime. And then we're going to be able to quest with the yokai for 2. So sing with the Hiram, quest with the yokai since we have no more items. And quest with the Baymax for another 2 going to 14. And at this point, we pretty much have the game wrapped up. Drop a Mr. Smee. There's nothing the opponent can do short of a Be Prepared to get back into this game. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say, like, you know, just based on this one match, you should be playing Be Prepared. But it really does save you in a lot of matchups, right? Where the game has kind of gotten away from you. I guess the main deficiency is, like, because Amber Ruby really does depend on just putting their characters on the board. They're not like Ruby Amethyst where you're constantly drawing a ton of cards through a bunch of different engines. So like if you B prep and you lose your board, like you may not have cards to rebuild. And this is again why I say that Amber Ruby really does need that second draw spell. Again, I'm calling it, guys. They're going to come out with a Ruby Legendary that's going to say when this card enters play, deal up to 3 damage to one of your characters, and then you can draw that many cards. So anti-Rapunzel. It's going to be really good if it comes out. They dropped the Vanellope. I didn't expect that. So they are able to survive here by taking out both the Baymax and the 2-questing yokai here. And then drop Simba as a follow-up. And I think that more or less exhausts all the resources that they have or very close to it. We drop a Boom. Okay, a little late to the party, but that's fine. We do have a Chenpo as well. The opponent is just too far behind being on the draw here. To really try to catch up because we can just quest up to 19 and then again we don't have to worry about any kind of board wipes or anything like that, so we can very easily close out the game from here and it's a foregone conclusion. I think my friend at this point is just saying, yeah, I don't think there's anything I can do because they can't even clean up my existing board, let alone whatever I decide to play this turn. So yeah, we drop a Cogsworth here and then just quest out and probably just pass back and then that's a GG. So again, you know, we were both testing out different things. I think my friend's list was definitely stronger. I don't know, this matchup, I would normally say any Ruby decks into Sapphire Steel, it can be a little tough. But I think if you play Sapphire Steel properly, you shouldn't really have too many bad matchups. The deck is very resilient and very strong. And it did get a lot better with Azurite. It seems like it gets better every set. And, you know, it does perform at DLCs, to be fair. It just hasn't won one yet, and so it's long overdue. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Let me know what you think. Thank you again if you watched it this far. Quantum is out.